Speaking of honeymoons ending, this Jonathan Majors. Wow. There's so much about it, so you just be patient with me. I've been waiting to even talk about it because I wanted to learn as much as I could. I'm still missing stuff. Admittedly, I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to get this right. There's so much media around it. I don't even mean coverage. I mean actual there's a tape of him being recorded. There's CCTV of them. There's a lot going. There's body cam footage. There's a lot to distill. I felt like I was part of the jury. You know what I mean? I was like, damn, how do I stay impartial? All of this looks so bad. You know what I mean? Like, you take the CCTV alone. We don't know what happened in the car, but apparently in the car is when she scratched up his face and it's when he hurt her finger. All we see is a CCTV of him getting out the car and then her trying to get out the car, right? Because in this moment, she's discovered that he's cheating. All right? So now he's trying to get out of the car. She's trying to get out of the car. He picks her up and puts her back in the car like a toddler, right? Like he just sort of lifts her up and is like, there, right? And then this man took off. He ran. He ran like it was the full caution sign. That's the last time I've seen somebody have a foot that high and a head that forward. And my man was over here like, huh, like he just fully running. And that's how you can tell he cheated too, because he running like a cheater. He running like, no, I gotta get out of here. I can't be here right now. She saw a text message, yeah. And then she took off and she ran after him. And she caught up. And that shocked me. She caught up. This nigga trained for Creed 3, and she caught up in heels like it was nothing. That's crazy. I didn't know getting cheated on gave you superpowers, because this dude is booking it, and she right behind him, clickety-clacking it in those heels, trying to get that phone, right? And so then you just see another CCTV angle, and you see him running the other way. And this time, it's scarier, because this time, she not running. This time, she's stalking him like Jason, just... And she a little drunk, too, so she looked like she gonna fall. I'm like, he really doesn't need to run anymore, but clearly he did. She still caught up to him. This man ran his knees off, and she just over here... And then they run into like 3 random people, and then she did the thing that I think a lot of people do when they're in like the midst of like, maybe they're a little drunk, they just found out they got cheated on or something's going on in their relationship or something. So she meets these 3 people who don't know them, who do not, I cannot stress that enough, who do not seem to know them at all. And she's like, well, fuck you, I'm gonna hang out with my new friends. And then she just becomes these 3 people's problem. And then John Major seemed to walk off, right? Seemed to just walk off into the night. So it's like that. Take that video alone, right? It's hard to decide how you feel about that, because in my mind, I'm just being honest, right? Just hear me out. In my mind, I don't know what else he should have done, because everything he should have done happened before that night. He shouldn't have cheated. If he didn't cheat, maybe none of this would have happened. But he cheated. I'm saying in the night in question, in this moment, he runs. He runs. He's out of cardio. Like, this is... Like, she clearly should have played Apollo Creed. If she tuckered him out that easy, then you go to the next day. Because the next day is when he finds her in the closet. Yeah. This dude comes home, and he finds her in the closet, and look, Jonathan Majors is too big and black to find any white woman. That's That's astounding. The fact that because now he's the one that called the cops. To my understanding, he's the one that called cops being like, hey, that's the only time I've seen someone call the cops, and you can hear it in his voice where he's like, I'm gonna need you to sit down. Before you send anybody, I need you to hear the full sentences I'm saying, because this is gonna look bad, right? And then the cops come, and then they lift her up and everything, and someone can correct me. I don't know what happened in this particular part. It seems like she came home and she was like maybe changing or whatever, and then fell asleep in the closet because it's like a walk-in closet. I don't really know what happened there. But then you hear Jonathan talk about it in an interview that he shouldn't have done. This interview was a bad idea. I'm not saying I would have any good ideas if I was him, but I'm just saying this interview was pretty bad because they ask him, how she sustained those injuries to her finger and all stuff like that. And then Jonathan Majors says, I wish to God I knew. Nigga, you were there. Like, I know you don't think you did it, but like, whatever. So then, in the interview, they're cutting between his interview and then pieces about him. They're using scenes from him in movies. And then they use a recording where he is arguing with her, right? And this is a big thing for me. This is a huge thing. And I hope it doesn't spill out into the rest of the world because a lot of celebrities do it. And I pray that we don't get to the point where we're doing it. If you need to secretly record anyone you are dating, break up with them. Please. Because this is my thing. Say what you want about her, say what you want about him. They clearly had a toxic dynamic. They had a bad dynamic from what seems like the start, right? And so for her to be recording him secretly means that she knows something's up with him. So leave, leave. And I'm not saying leave as if it's easy. I'm not saying leave as in you should just always feel safe to leave. I'm just saying you need to start coming up with an exit strategy, because then the recording is one of the worst recordings. It feels like right out of Law and Order, the recording. The recording is so damn bad. Okay, so basically, I don't really know the context of the recording. It sounds like from the recording that she came home drunk or she was acting up drunk or something like that, which apparently in their dynamic she had been known to do, right? So there's some, I don't even know if this is true, that maybe this is hearsay, but there was some instance where out of nowhere, one of the reasons a lot of people told him to break up with her is that she was drunk at a party one time. They had some sort of argument and she hauled off and slapped him in front of everybody, right? In front of everybody at the party and like a real like telegraphed the whole shit. I couldn't believe he got hit. I was like, all that Creed 3 and you don't know how to box? You over here just eating shots? That's crazy. That's boxing 101. Somebody does this, you do this. I'm not even a fighter and I know that. I'm just saying, she, whatever. I don't know what actually happened. All I know is the recording starts with him being like, listen, I'm doing a lot right now. I'm doing a lot for my people. I'm doing a lot for the culture. I am a great man. Give me a second. I think I can honestly say in a lot of relationships I've watched, especially like just straight relationships, there's a point where a guy feels, not even saying it's right, underappreciated for being maybe even a good boyfriend or good husband, right? And they will say something to try to stick up for how they feel in the moment. They'll be like, look, I'm a great guy. Most guys aren't like me out there. They'll say something to try to save it. And in the moment, it always doesn't. It never sounds the way it's like in your head. it sounds like it's evening the playing field. Like, in your head, you're like, I can't believe you're coming down on me so hard. I'm a good boyfriend. I'm a great boyfriend. You know that? I'm such a good boyfriend. Your friends say I'm a great boyfriend to you when they don't think I can hear it, and I hear it, and I take that to the moon, and I'm using it now. That's what it sounds like in our head. What it sounds like out loud when you're in the middle of an argument is, I'm a great man. The fact that he actually said, I am a great man. And look, I don't know what it's like to date either one of them. I'm just going off of what we've seen and what I've seen that has happened, right? I don't know what it's like to date either one. I'm just saying, I can see how you're in the moment and you really think you're cooking. But it should be a sign to you that the person that you're like just going off on is saying nothing. And look, if I'm being honest with you, when I listen to that recording, I do think it's a little bit of a setup because she says nothing, right? And you can tell she a little drunk too, because the only thing you can hear is like him being like, I'm a great man, and her being like, you know what I mean? Like if you listen real close, you can hear a couple hiccups. I'm not saying that gives him the right to be over here. I'm a great man, you know, like. And look, to be fair, maybe she was just recording him because he kept telling her to be like Coretta, and she had no fucking idea what that meant. She's like, I'm a white woman that was born in the UK. I don't know how to connect these two things. Be more like Coretta. And then in the interview, he's like, look, when I said that, I wasn't comparing myself to Dr. King. I was just trying to say that these are the people I aspire to be. And so if I'm gonna get there, I need someone like her to help me get there. And I'm like, all right, but you did say Coretta. Like, you know what I mean? It'd be different if he was just like, I need you to do better. I need you to do better sounds, outside looking in, sounds completely fair. I need you to do better. I need you to do better than getting drunk at functions that I'm with that I'm trying to network. I need you to do better than slapping me in my face in front of a bunch of people. I just need you to do better. There's a huge amount of middle ground. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it would be like my girlfriend being like, listen, you do not help enough around the house. I get that you tour, I get that you have shows at night, but I need your help around the house, all right? So when you're about to go, just take the trash out with you. That's a simple thing that you can do. Just take the trash out with you. Just do a little better. She didn't say, I need you to be Malcolm X. Do you see the difference? It's also just, I don't know. That the thing that really bothers me about Jonathan Majors is that he didn't make it. He made it. All this happened after he made it. And it's so hard. And like even take away for a second being a black actor. Take away for a second where he comes from. It's hard in general. This is like the NFL of drama. And he made it. And then this happens, you know? And he has nobody to blame but himself. Just like it's a lesson to all of us. If there's something that you want more than anything else, you cannot let other things get in the way of that thing, especially when they don't bring you anything good, you know? And some people made it purely about race. I don't think that Jonathan Majors is a lesson that you need to date within your own race. I think he's a lesson you need to date within your own weight class, because the optics are terrible, all right? Jonathan Majors is 34 years old. Jonathan Majors is 34. That blew my mind. He's 34. We're closer in age than I ever thought. He's 34. And he doesn't look 34. That man looked 46 from 1958. Every time I see Jonathan Majors, I'm like, he should be in sepia tone. Like, and people, and look, I want to be clear for a second. A lot of people had a weird, and I'm talking about outside of all this stuff before any of it ever happened. A lot of people had a weird hate for him that I didn't understand, and they went out of their way to call him ugly, and they went out of their way to just like go with his features and stuff like that. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying he does look like a time traveler, all right? Like, if he told me he knew Dr. King personally and that he had a time machine, I'd be like, no wonder you want everybody to be like a Coretta. You know her so well.
Hey friends, I have some great news for you. So this week, I'm going to be hosting The Daily Show for the very first time. I'm hosting tonight, tomorrow, and Thursday. And this show has meant a lot to me for a long time. I started there as a writer in 2017, and I've loved it ever since. I've loved the people, I've loved the process, and for the first time, I get to sit behind the desk. And if you've ever wondered what the show would look like through my lens, well, this is your chance to watch it. And I just want to say thank you, because this is in no small part because of you, because of this community, because of everything that we're doing on this channel is a lot of what led to this opportunity. And so I appreciate you very, very much. And if you are inclined, if you're in the area, go ahead and watch Comedy Central live or on the Paramount Plus app. There will also be YouTube videos of clips of it dropping as well. But thank you so much. I hope you enjoy seeing me host. I have some amazing guests, and I'm excited to bring the show to you in the best way that I can. And I hope you enjoy the video this week. Bye.
Please make it loud for Josh Johnson!
Okay. All right. Look. Okay. So we are in week 2 of there like kind of being files but no files, but like there's kind of like we don't know, but he doesn't know, but he knows, but he doesn't remember, but he wasn't there, but even if he was there, it's not what you think. But like it's a lot going on, right? And so with everything that fell out with Trump last week, now you have people being like, release the Epstein files, release the Epstein files, release the Epstein files, right? And in prison is Ghislaine Maxwell. Now, in case you're not familiar, Ghislaine Maxwell, like one of the central people to this case, she trafficked for Jeffrey Epstein, right? And she is still alive somehow, and in prison, okay? Yeah, so she's still alive in prison, right? And she actually got 20 years for her part in this trafficking. And so now with Trump calling Epstein a hoax, there's been a lot of, how do I put this? There's been a lot of unintelligible takes on if he's saying the entire thing is a hoax or just his involvement is a hoax, or no one can really tell. There's not a lot of like centered messaging on what is supposed to be the narrative here. And because of that, now you got Ghislaine and her lawyers from prison being like, oh, well, if it's a hoax. No, I'm just saying if like nobody got trafficked to anybody, then I'd like to appeal, right? And then there's people that are like, the client list, we need the client list, we need the little black book, we need the client list, why won't they release things? And then you even had Democrats saying in the House, like, we want to release the files, and they put it to a vote, and Republicans voted to block that release. And they voted to block that release, they said, because, oh, it was part of another bill and it would have passed a bunch of stuff we don't want to pass. So then a bipartisan group went out and they were like, now we should vote on this, and it's Epstein stuff only, right? So everyone's like, release the files, right? And then Ghislaine is like, I got the files. I got them in my head. Like, I'll tell you right now, which is such a crazy thing to me to watch. If you've been watching this whole thing take place, Ghislaine got arrested in like 2020. I think she got sentenced in like 2022, and she's been in jail this whole time. Why is she just now saying, I got the list? It feels like when your boy who like really thought he was gangster finally goes to jail and gets like the first roach in his sandwich, and he's like, I'll tell anything you need me to know, like anybody, if you have any questions, I will answer follow-up questions, just please get me out of here. I think there's rats in the cheese, please. And so you had Trump really stressing this week, stressing hard, going back and forth with people. This man's getting more comfortable cursing out loud and on text. Like, he's crazy. Just like decorum's fully out the window. Like, there wasn't much of it to begin with, but now he's just like, ah! And this is the other thing that trips me up, is that they're throwing everything they can in front of this like Epstein monster, like Pac-Man, right? Let's just throw this while we run away. And they never admit that Trump isn't doing well in any way, ever. And then they came out saying he had chronic venous, I don't really know what that third word is, I'm not gonna lie to you. But basically he got chronic veins or something. I don't know if that means he got extra, or I don't know what it is, but it's affecting, his health a little bit, and his hand looks horrible. His hand looks like he got an ace bandage on it, but like that's his skin, right? And so I saw that and I was like, wow, they must really want this thing to go. Talk about anything else, please. And then just today, Tulsi Gabbard released these Obama Russia files. You know, the files everybody's talking about. You know, the files that just last week were like, when they gonna release those Obama Russia files? Why can't they get the Obama? What is Obama hiding? All right, we want his Russia files. You know, we've been hungry, thirsty for some Obama Russian files. Ooh, I can't wait to. I can taste them. Let me get those Obama Russia files. That's so bad. That's so bad. It means you have nothing. You truly have nothing to throw in the way of this thing, because Obama Russia file, you won. You won in 2016, you won in 2024. I haven't read the Obama Russia files, admittedly. I haven't read them yet. But I have a spoiler alert for you. Trump came out on top. And he over here stressing when he could have just done nothing. Eventually, he's in the White House. He's asked about it, and he's like, look, if Pam Bondi finds anything credible, she can release it. That's all he had to say the whole time. He could have avoided this entire thing if he had just said that, look, if the AG finds something credible, she can release it. And then people really don't have much to say because it's like, that's what they want. He says you're going to get it. I don't know if that's true, but like, that's all you have to do. Keep your calm, play it cool. Instead, he was like, why would you, And it's because he felt caught. And the only people who within this week have been as caught as Trump and reacted as badly was that couple at the Coldplay concert. I thought I was shocked when I saw like Trump's Epstein files tweets, right? This thing, the clip is about 14 seconds. I've been watching it for 20 hours. Okay, all right. In case you haven't seen this, it's a Coldplay concert, right? Coldplaying. Coldplay doing their thing, all right? Being colds. Coldplaying particularly hard that night. And they did this thing that's becoming more popular at big concerts, because Coldplay doing like a stadium. And there's a thing that you can do at a public event, like an entertainment event, whether it's sports, whether it's music, whatever, where you can put out a cam into the audience. And I don't know how to describe it, but when you do that, it does make the entire thing, as big as it is, feel more intimate. Because now you're over here enjoying Coldplay, and you see the other people there enjoying Coldplay, and they're just like you. And they're just as excited to be on the screen as you would be to be on the screen. And they're having such a good time, you know? And so you're like, this is amazing. We're all here together enjoying this thing. I genuinely like those cams because it reminds us that we're all doing the same thing, having a good time, you know? And if we're all doing the same thing, having a good time, maybe we're more alike than we think. If we're more alike than we think, then maybe when we leave the basketball game, when we leave the show, whatever, we have less reason to argue. We have less reason to look at each other as like just completely different entities. It's like, you're just like me. You like Coldplay. You know, and I'm not you know, a big enough act to do like a stadium or anything like that. I don't really have screens at my shows and stuff. But I heard that the CEO of the largest tech firm in Louisville was here tonight, and so I brought a cam out tonight. If you want to. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I can't afford that at all. No, but if you didn't see the clip, is basically Coldplay throwing people up on the cam and having little interactions, or like playing a little something just for them, or just commenting on how sweet people look. And they're going, people, people, people. And then they go to this couple. It's not just any couple. They go to a couple holding each other Titanic style. And to be fair to her, she didn't have the arms out like Rose. She was holding his arms. And then Chris Martin is like, look at this couple. And I don't know, okay. This is where I wish I knew more about like technology and the brain and stuff like that, because the same way that there is latency on the internet and there's a delay on a call where sometimes you can hear yourself in someone else's side of the phone call, and you can hear how you spoke, but there's a delay. It's like a second later you hear your own voice, what you just said as you're speaking. So it takes a second. And I don't know, because I've never been in a situation where I've been on a big camera like that, the amount of time it takes your brain to register that that's you that you looking at. Because they're over here, Titanic style. If you've ever seen the film Titanic, and if you're a 90s baby, you know that when Titanic came out initially, home release, it was on VHS. And it's such a long movie, it's such an epic, that there were 2 VHS tapes. If you're young and you don't know what a VHS is, don't tell anybody that. Keep that to yourself and Google it, all right? It makes people feel bad when we have to explain that we used to have to basically bring a projector home inside a hard casing and then put it in a VCR. If you don't know what a VCR is, that's some other letters you don't need to worry about, okay? You're never gonna come in contact with them in your life, but you would put the VHS into the VCR, you would hit play. You understand play, right? You're not too young for play. You would hit play and it would play the thing like it does on demand, but we didn't have on demand yet. Netflix wasn't born yet. We didn't know what streaming was. And Titanic came out and it was such a long movie. I hadn't seen this 2 VHSs. I hadn't seen that since Charlton Heston's 10 Commandments. If you're too young to know what Charlton Heston's 10 Commandments are, it is also a film, but that film is almost as old as the people the film is about, all right? That movie is about Moses, who probably had a VCR, really. Like when you think about how long ago Moses was and when we used VCRs. But Titanic came home with you, it had 2 VHS tapes. And you watch the first VHS tape of Titanic, and it plays till about half the movie. And then it tells you to enter tape 2. Tape 2, which will be far more depressing. If you were like me and you shopped at a lot of like thrift stores, sometimes when you go to a thrift store, you don't get to get the thing the way it was intended when it was sold. You might go to a thrift store and buy Titanic and think you got all the Titanic in one VHS tape. And then bring Titanic home and watch Titanic, but you only watch tape 1. And so you don't even know that there's a tape 2 until the end of the VHS where it says insert tape 2, and you don't have it. So you're like, all right, I'm just gonna have to settle with what I got, which was a very sweet story about 2 people who met on an epic adventure. I think I'm willing to leave it there. And it's not until years later you find out the horror that is Titanic Part 2. Part 2 where everything going awry. And all I can say is the first 2 seconds that this couple was on the kiss cam looked a lot like Titanic VHS tape 1. And then when they realize that they on the camera, it looks a whole like Titanic VHS tape 2. Honestly, they look like they on the Titanic. When about tape 2 takes place. And so you see them. And this is where things went wrong. Because rather than just playing it cool, than just, chilling, the woman immediately covers her face and whips around. Okay, all right, look, look. Don't judge, okay? When I was a kid, there were kids in my neighborhood who went a totally different direction than I did, right? And sometimes I'd hear about them, and you especially hear about them if you stop seeing them around. And I quickly got used to the idea that if I hadn't seen somebody a long time, they probably didn't just move away. They may have been locked up. Something may have happened to them, right? And there was a kid who was nice enough a few blocks down. Sometimes I would walk to work in the morning, and it was a long walk. And I would pass his house, and sometimes he'd be out front of his house with people. I'd say hi, they'd say hi. We weren't like close or anything. And one day when I was back home from college, I went to this hookah lounge with my friends. And at the hookah lounge were the guys who I used to pass by when I was in high school, working that job, running every day to work. And I asked them where, the fourth was, the dude that was usually with them. And they were like, oh, yeah, no, he doing a little time. And I was like, what happened? And they were like, well, he ran up in this store to rob it. And, he had he was pretending to have a gun and everything. And not only did he not have a gun, the store clerk wasn't scared of him. And so he's over here doing one of these. Let's talk about this real quick. Because I've known people who have had people run up on them And they didn't see the gun, but they were sure they had a gun because of the way they moved with it. All right? A little bit of weight to it. Maybe it was tucked. Maybe it was in the pocket. But there was just a slight motion that they had. There was just a way that they were behaving where if they didn't have a gun, this is some great acting. But this man, he ran up into the store. Give me everything. Do it now. I'm not messing around. I would hate for this to go off. And so the store clerk kept his cool, and he was like, no. He's like, what do you mean? I am armed. Ready to kill. Oh, you don't think I'll do it? I'm crazy. And the store clerk, apparently, according to their story, told me, I don't think you'll do anything because... And he points up, and he looked up at the corner, and he was on camera without a mask. And so apparently he went, and walked out the store. I understand the immediate reaction to want to cover your face when you realize you're on camera. But don't do it with your fake gun hand. But he got arrested from rolling up in there and even the attempt and everything. And so he did a little time in jail. And I'm just saying, you're on the kiss cam, and immediately something seems awry when you go, oh! And that by itself wouldn't have actually been that bad. No, I'll tell you right now, this is what I firmly believe. I truly believe this from the bottom of my heart. I think that obviously, there's something up when you see yourself on the cam and go, oh, and then you turn around. But, like Chris Martin said, later in the video, maybe shy. Maybe you're shy. And if only one of them had reacted badly, if only one of them had reacted badly, they might not be in this situation. But she went, oh! And then the man just starts to sink. Where did he go? No, for real, where did this dude go? This man didn't just duck under what he thought the camera could cover. This man got caught. She turned around and he went, ooh, But like, where did he go? Like, truly, where was he? He never comes back. Did he open a portal? He might have been in an abyss. This was one of the crazy, because then he's gone and then she's just standing there. And in my head, I'm like, I don't know where their seats are, but it seems like he jumped. I was crying. This man went under everyone, I suppose. Fully disappeared. And then Chris Martin went, either that couple is really shy or they're having an affair. And the internet said, or? No, that's an affair, dog. Tried to be gracious just in case, but no. That was wild, and then we didn't know it yet. But there was another woman off to the side that presumably knows everything that's happening with them. And wow, people find out quick. The internet works quick. Internet was like, I got all night. I'm not at the Coldplay concert. And within hours, people found this dude's name, where he worked. They found her. They found out that they weren't married to each other. This man married, and then, you know, the internet did a thing where, look. I do think it's important that people know the truth about what's happening in their lives. And I can only hope, like genuinely hope, that the people that reached out to that dude's wife did it with at least some tact. But a lot of people reached out to her, commented, this is where your husband's at. He's at the Coldplay concert. The Coldplay concert, from my research, isn't even that far from where you live because I already went ahead and doxed him. I just want you to know. And so then people looked him up, and then they looked her up, and early into people looking her up, she had changed her last name on social, apparently. Knocked his name off. And then it looks like she deleted or made private her socials altogether, which I completely understand. And then people started looking into him. And this is the thing about treating people badly. As soon as something blows up like this, anything you ever did comes out. This dude cheating on his wife, and then other people were giving their little testimonies. Oh, I worked with him. He's actually terrible. He makes toxic work environments. He's incredibly abusive to his employees, saying all this stuff, right? And I don't know if these people actually work with him or not. It's so hard to tell what about this is real versus like people just trying to get in versus people trying to be part of it and stuff. And then I had a moment, genuinely, I had a moment where I was like, what if? Let's entertain for a second. What if this isn't real? I genuinely thought, because you know, some of the kiss cam stunts, some of the things they do at sports games are like completely fake. They'll be like a fake proposal just to like make everybody laugh and maybe go viral, and maybe they'll sell some more like Bruins tickets. And then I even thought to myself, okay, you don't really see this happen in music, so maybe, what if this was Coldplay? What if Coldplay was like, look, this is what we gonna do, all right? We're gonna get the cam up, we're gonna show a bunch of people, we're gonna get it on one couple. They're gonna freak out, Jerry Springer style, all right? One of them gonna duck, he's never gonna come back. He disappears for life. She stands there. The lady next to her, who is supposedly her friend, laughs at their lives crumbling in front of her. It'll go viral. Everybody will be talking about the Coldplay concert. Everybody will be talking about what song we played right before it happened. Genuinely, you have to entertain a lot of things when you're trying to sift through if something's real or not. You have to be skeptical of everything. And I thought about it, and then I saw how Chris Martin moved on after that. And then I saw a wide shot, and I saw that the stadium looked sold out. So I was like, actually, it looks like Coldplay is doing fine. That theory is in the dirt. This looks very real. And then I thought about the company. You know, Andy, his name is Andy. Andy works at a company called Astronomer. I had never heard of Astronomer. I don't think anybody was talking about Astronomer 2 days ago. So then for a second I was like, what if? Astronomer, a tech company, hire Coldplay to do a stadium show. Coldplay does the stadium show. They have all their fans there. The fans don't know that Coldplay's getting a little bit of money on the side for what's about to happen, and then they throw the camera on the CEO. They throw the camera on the CEO and another employee. And then they create this whole scandal. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's talking about Astronomer. What is Astronomer? Oh, it's an AI company. What do they do? Oh, they help manage workflow. These are conversations nobody was having 2 days ago. The assumption when you're in the news, when there's a scandal with your CEO, is that your stock price could drop. I don't know if they're a public company, but if the stock price is dropping, it seems like a good time to buy. Maybe that's when they buy back their own stock. And then as soon as I was sitting in my room thinking all this, I was like, I think I've been too deep in this Epstein thing. Like, I think that maybe I have a problem. And I just it's really changing how my brain works. And then there's the fallout of this dude, not only is he caught cheating in front of thousands of people, in front of the internet, but also we find out he's a CEO. We're not gonna find much grace there. People aren't really fans of CEOs right now. And then on top of being a CEO, he's a billionaire. You basically made a Venn diagram of the 3 people that people hate the most. And it's a circle with your name in it. Because it is a terrible thing. A terrible thing that happened. And I just think about how that's something that happens now. You know? Our grandparents, our great-great-parents would have never got caught. No, people's grandparents had whole extra families. And as long as you were willing to be a gentleman about it and really take care of both families, they never met. You know, you went on your family vacation with one family beginning of the summer, family vacation with a second family at the end of the summer, because there used to just be more affordability in the US. A lot of people talk about how back in my day, I could buy a house right out of college. And it's yes, and afford an extra family. Don't forget that. I've talked about this before. I've known people growing up who had that thing happen, where the granddad, they have cousins and half brothers and sisters because of what the granddad did back in the day. And he was doing that on a job that doesn't even exist anymore. That's how much things have changed. This man had 2 whole families as a traveling fork salesman. This man would just go up to people's doors and be like, look, eventually in your life you will come across some spaghetti. And when that happens, you'll want to be, he sounded like life insurance, you're going to want to be ready when that spaghetti is in front of you, all right? You don't want to be sitting here like a fool with a knife and a spoon. You want to be ready with that spaghetti, all right? And how you get ready? My forks. I got the best forks. My forks can do anything. I got fine dining forks. I got regular forks. I got the nickel forks. You know those forks made of nickel they'll never rust because they're always kind of rusty. If you need forks, I can get it right, all right? Got all types of forks. I got the 4-prong, I got the 3-prong, I got he bad at counting. And then people let him in. He's like, looking at this, what was it, two bedroom house? How many kids you got? Oh, you got 3 kids in a 2-bedroom house? You're gonna need at least 16 forks. Made his living selling forks. One day, somebody opened the door for this man and he's immediately smitten. Oh, hello. She's like, yes, how can I help you? He's like, oh, I was trying to, I had this briefcase where I was trying to like fork you, like I just want to, I was no, I'm trying to give you fork. I mean, I'm trying to sell you forks. I sell forks. My name is John. And then she lets him in. And they get to talking about forks. And then about other things. And he doesn't tell her he's got a wife at home. And they start an affair. An affair where maybe she knows about the wife, maybe she doesn't. But then things grow. They feel like they're in love. They're like, let's get married. He marries her. Now he's got 2 fork families to support. Now he's got to sell forks harder than ever. He's got to go to as many doors as possible because the kids need braces. All of them. No, just he sells as many forks as he can, and then one day, one fateful day, sadly, a Sears opens. He's out of business immediately. If you're young and you don't know what Sears is, it was like a department/everything store where basically it was like Amazon, but you had to go. There was no click. You had to leave the house to go to Amazon, and then you had to go put everything in your cart yourself, and then you had to buy it yourself. It was like working at the factory at Amazon, except you just grabbed what you needed and you left. But then one day Sears opens, he realizes he's ruined. What else is he gonna do? He's only good at selling forks. And so he has to sit his family down. Be like, look, I'll be right back. I'm going to get cigarettes. And then he goes to his other home, his other family, and he's like, sit down, y'all. I have something to tell you. It's important. I have to go get cigarettes. And then he would go off and he'd have his own life, and he would die with a lot of life insurance, and then the 2 families wouldn't meet each other until it was time to collect. And that was the gentlemanly way to cheat in the 30s. All right? Because a CEO of a company dating, openly cheating with, I didn't know this was a real title, with the CPO, which CPO, I found out today, stands for Chief People Officer, which sounds like the most made-up job I've ever heard in my entire life. That job sounds very fake. Chief People Officer sounds like what you say at Thanksgiving when you go home unemployed, knowing that your brother is a doctor and your sister's a lawyer. I'm the Chief People Officer. Oh, and I'm Master of Business. That is crazy. I know it's a real job, I know it's a real title and everything, but just, you could have named it something else. To say that you're in the C-suite, just Chief People Officer, really sounds like it was not on anyone's mind before the name came out of their mouth. It's like, we have to give her a title. What's the title? She's head of HR. No, she was already head of HR. She got promoted. What is she over again? HR and personnel and hiring. It's like, okay, Chief People Officer? I don't know. No, it was crazy. Crazy. And now it just recolors everything with that company. Now they're probably having an investigation right now. You know? Makes you take a second look at everything that happened between them, like performance reviews. Apparently, in one of the performance reviews, the CEO said that the CPO, this is what I read, this might not be right, because everybody talking. But apparently the CEO said the CPO had deeply extensive and impressive knowledge. And that's nasty. That's, I know what he's trying to say. That's, no. That is inappropriate, if anything. I hope they take you down just for that. That's unacceptable. You know? You shouldn't do things that you know are wrong. And I think when you get caught, it's also important to know you're caught and to handle it as best as possible. And I think that as far as that kiss cam couple goes, the only way they could have handled that thing worse was if they had held up signs that said there are no Epstein files. Like,
Charleston, please make some noise for Josh Johnson!
I was talking to one of my friends, and he said that he knew, the first time he knew his neighborhood was broke was when the bank closed. It's a pretty good indicator. The bank holds that branch's money, and that branch is falling off. And said he went to the bank, and he basically just straight up asked the teller, he's like, "Hey, do you know why this branch is closing?" And she was like, "Are you here to make a deposit or a withdrawal?" And he was like, "Withdrawal." And she was like, "Yeah, that's why. That's it in a nutshell. That's exactly what's happening. You do enough of that, and then there is no bank. We're just kind of a building with a little bit of parking." I don't know. I look back at the ups and downs I've had in my life. I've been like broke off and on my entire life, you know? And there's a weird solace sometimes in being broke at the right time. Everyone thinks that the security is in having means and having money, but sometimes not being a part of the circus is its own solace in a weird way. You know that it's bad when you're really shopping at the dollar store. There are things anybody could use at the dollar store. You need a fly swatter, you might as well run up in the dollar store. You know what I mean? You need like a dustpan, might as well run up in the dollar store. But if you're really shopping at the dollar store, things are not great. You know, I would go in the dollar store for stuff you shouldn't even be buying from the dollar store. They sell it, but even the cashier look at you like, you sure? I'm talking about well, you have to get your meat at the dollar store. I knew I was in a bad situation when I went to a dollar store and was looking at that meat in the fridge, and I was like, Because the meat at the dollar store, they don't go into specifics. You go to Kroger, Walmart, you go to Target, you go to any of these places and you'll see the brand of the meat and then you'll see, you know, all of the little no preservatives ever, completely organic, you know, all the stuff. When you go to the dollar store and you buy your meat, it just says the price and it says meat. And you're like, maybe if I don't ask any questions, it can be whatever I think it is. Because then, I also got a lot of stuff at the dollar store, even as a kid, that I look back and I'm like, that probably wasn't the best. Like a good example, if you know, you know. When you shop at the dollar store, especially if you ever got toys at the dollar store, you know that dollar store toys are in a very specific, slightly copyright infringed arena of toy. You know, like you would have a G.I. Joe, but it doesn't say G.I. Joe. It just says soldier. And you buy the soldier and it even got the setup like a G.I. Joe, like it stands like a G.I. Joe, but the legs a little too short. So some very long arms. I couldn't tell if the arms were long or the legs were short. And it doesn't have like grip action. It says that on the front, grip action. It just has a hole. They didn't make a hand. They made a hole stub. And then this hole stub is what you go ahead and put the little toy gun through. But then they didn't really measure out the gun versus the hand. And so the gun is not in proportion at all. So it looked like this would blow his arm off if he tried to shoot it. But you bring it home and you're playing with it. And you're like, yeah, soldier, get him. And he's like, I'm gonna get him. Oh, I'm gonna get him. They getting it right now. Trust me. Trust me. Nah, they getting it. Look. Point me over here. Point me over here. No, it was terrible. It was very bad. It was horrible. You know, you would have those dollar store crayons. That's another one. It's a very specific type of drawing as a kid, because those dollar store crayons, they melt in your hand. So you got to be quick with it. You got some imagination. It needs to come out now. You got to put those crayons in the fridge. I remember being around some of these crayon kids being like, your crayon's stale as hell. Man, y'all don't even freshen up your crayons. That's crazy. That's why your pictures stink. You know what I mean? My pictures smell like leftovers. I remember one of my favorite toys from the dollar store was like a Stretch Armstrong, right? But It was stretch arm. It would only stretch for like 3 days. You only got 3 good days. After that, it would get hard. And if you tried to stretch it after it got hard, it would cut your finger open. I don't know what it was made of, but it was the most malleable, unmalleable thing. It was Play-Doh and adamantium together. No, it was crazy. And that's the thing too, is when you're growing up in this situation, for anyone who knows what I'm talking about from experience, then you also know that it's very hard to know that you're broke, especially if you're a kid. It's hard to know if you are surrounded by love. My family loved me so much, so much. They still do. I make it sound like that. Make it sound like there was a falling out. They still love me. But no, I was surrounded by love. I had my grandparents, and my mom, and my dad's love. I had my aunt, and my uncle's love. I had my cousin's love. I had so much love around me. And when you're surrounded by that much love, you don't know that you don't have money when you have that much love until you meet somebody who has both. That is a curious experience. Like when you're like, oh, you got both parents and a pool? Okay, I think there can be upgrades to life. I see that now. To me, greed is a paradox because you want everything. Even if you have more than enough, even if you have so much that what you have is starting to hurt you in the long run. You see it with the way that hedge funds cannibalize whole companies. It's like, okay, everybody made some short-term profit, but now this thing that people used to love doesn't exist. You know? Like you take like a Southwest. You know, Southwest, people used to love Southwest. Bags fly free. Affordable tickets. You just sit wherever. You don't have to wait for the person. Southwest used to be so fire because then you don't have to wait for the person to get to their seat and you don't have to get up for anybody. Do you know what it's like to just be in your seat on the plane? And everyone's almost there. There's a couple of stragglers. There's almost nobody coming down that aisle anymore. You even settle in. You're like, oh, I may not have a seat next to me. This may be the promised land. You get so comfortable, you're like, man, I might put my other leg over here. Southwest had a brilliant idea. And the bags were flying for free, which makes sense. The bags don't know where they're going. Why should I have to pay for this bag to have an experience too? You know? And then greed, and then private equity, and then hedge funds, and then, you know, shareholder meetings, and then dividends. All the things start to creep in, and it's like, maybe we'll stop doing everything that is why everyone likes us. Maybe we'll just be like the other airlines. They make money, but then you actually look at the people who fly Southwest, and they were like, oh, y'all aren't nice enough to be like them, though. Like, your seat doesn't even go back like that. Why would I pay for everything here that I pay for over there? That's crazy. And so then you see people plummet, because they're making decisions based on money, but not money that they need, just more money that they might be able to get. You know? And there's only there's only so much that a business can grow. I understand a startup's passion, and that passion makes sense because the company just started. But after a while, it's like, do you really need to own everything? If the answer is yes, it's like, and they don't say it to us. They say it to each other. You ever get a hold of a recording of a closed-door meeting and the way they talk about their own customers? You know? That's why greed is like a paradox to me. You're so greedy that then you end up cannibalizing your own company, your own efforts, yourself. You end up hurting yourself. American greed is another paradox because as much as we know that the millionaires and billionaires maybe got their money in a way that's a little nasty, we also kind of want to be them a little bit. Everybody wants their piece, but we know how bad it is. You know? There are people who I know who want to be billionaires. They aspire to be billionaires. But if you ask them to name like a good billionaire, it's a hard quiz. But they want to be the billionaire because they're like, no, I will be different. How? You know? That to me is like a drug dealer saying, no, I'm gonna be different. Oh, how so? Oh, I'll only sell drugs to bad people. How will you know that they're bad people? Word will get around and they'll buy my drugs and I'll be like, that's a bad guy. No, it's not gonna be different just because it's you. That's the trick as well. No, it's different when I do it. It's different when it's me. It's different when it's for me. It's different when it's for my family. Right? So then you hear people talk about recession. That recession is coming, recession is looming. And to be fair, people have said that since the last recession. Every year, I'm not an economist, but every year there's somebody that's like, it's coming. Get ready, batten down the hatches. And so you're in this situation where, people are very worried, and understandably so. Because it's not really about the money. Money is mostly like the conduit. Money's mostly the placeholder. There are people who find money to be a game, and for them, the number is the important thing. How much actual money they can stack and hoard is the real thing. I want to show how rich I am is the real thing. But for almost everybody else, it's about their survival. It's about taking care of yourself. It's about taking care of the people that you love. So when they hear that there's going to be a recession, they're not really thinking like, oh, the number will go down. They're thinking about food. They're thinking about housing. They're thinking about resources. And the only way forward is with other people. We've proven that this thing doesn't work. And by this thing, I'm not just talking about like one specific system. I'm not talking about like capitalism. I'm not talking about anything like that. I'm talking about we've proven that a true rat race does not work. I can't believe the world watched Squid Game and was like, yeah, I think I could win the pot. The pot is the problem. And then I think the other problem is that if you are pitted against people, if you're pitted against the other 330 so million Americans, then yeah, the odds look insurmountable. But when you see how many people are actually in your situation, and you see how many millions of people are just like you, and you put yourself on the same side as them, all of a sudden, all of the weight, it gets a little bit easier. There are people around the world that will never have access to the things that we have access to that make it work. And so sometimes we stress, oh, how am I going to make it work? And it's like the number one way is through community. Your future is your neighbor. There's no other way forward. And I know that can be scary. That's an idea where you have to lay down so much trust at the feet of people that you don't know. That's very scary, because I've had good neighbors and I've had bad neighbors. I've had very bad neighbors. I had a neighbor who stole my trash can. It's the trash can. You could just put your trash in there too. Stole my trash can and lived next to me. Like I'm not gonna notice my trash can. And he was big too, and I'm pretty sure he sold drugs, so I wasn't gonna take my trash can back. But I was like, I will put my trash in my trash can over here though. Just because you stole the trash can doesn't mean I'm gonna get another trash can. It's a trash can, and trash goes in. You could have put your trash over here, but then you wanted to put it in front of your yard. Okay, fine, whatever. I'm sure you have a gun, so I won't make a big deal of it. But I've had bad neighbors, and I've also had incredibly kind, incredibly sweet neighbors. I had neighbors that made any transition period I've been having in my life easier. I remember when I moved to Chicago and I was living in my first apartment, I had a neighbor that knocked on my door. I had been living there for like 2 days, and I didn't have stuff. I'm like this broke kid who just moved to Chicago with like 2 suitcases of like clothes and a couple of other things. And so knocks on my door, and it's like, hey, this older guy, and he's like, hey, I saw that you moved in. If you need anything or you have any questions about the building, just hit me up. I live right there. And I'm thinking he's like the building manager or something. So I'm like, oh yeah, what's your name? And we get to talking a little bit. And as we're talking, I realize he doesn't work for the building at all. This dude is literally just checking on me for the sake of checking on me. And he's like, if you need anything, because I saw, you were having a little trouble, I couldn't have caught up to you, but I was going to help you up and everything. And I was like, oh, thank you, man. And we didn't see each other often. And I remember the day that I moved out because I ran into him again. I ran into him and his wife. And he was like, man, I'm sorry to see you go. Because I can tell, we never really got to chop it up or anything, but I could tell that I like the way you move. And you didn't cause any trouble. You were just cool. And I wish I would have knocked on your door a couple more times, right? I never forgot about that guy, because even knowing that there was someone there if I was having a problem, it just made living there on my own a little bit easier. Just in the back of my head. Once again, we didn't even have that many interactions. I only knocked on his door a couple times. And the couple of times I knocked on his door, he needed help too. There was one time where we had in our building a chute for the laundry that nobody used. Nobody ever used it because it's not like it was one person. Do you know what I mean? Like, the chute for, this isn't Eloise. Like, it's weird that there was a chute for the laundry because it just went to the floor down there, and you'd have to go down there to wash your own clothes anyway. So I guess if you wanted to save yourself the weight of the trip, you could push all the clothes down and let them get nice and nasty, and then slip through the chute and then hit the ground, and now it's got different stuff on it than the reason that you're washing it. So nobody used it. And nobody used it because it was nasty. And so then one day, the actual building manager poured a whole bunch of like bug poison down it to try to kill some of the bugs that had been living in there. And the bugs were like, you know what? I think we'll go everywhere else. And so then one day I came home and my apartment was just overrun with bugs, and it didn't make sense because I didn't even have stuff. I had a fork, a bowl, it was kind of like a saucer. It wasn't a plate. It was a plate that you would put a teacup on. I didn't even have dishes to be nasty enough to have all these bugs. So I'm freaking out. I'm killing a bunch of bugs, and then I run over and I knock on his door, and when I open his door, he looks like me. He's like, you too? And both of us just knowing that we're both dealing with bugs was enough to make the whole thing easier. He helped me kill some of my bugs. I helped him kill some of his bugs. And we were both very upset with the building manager. I had another neighbor when I was living this short little bit in this, I don't even know how to describe it. It was it was a house. It was a house. But it was you know how there's it wasn't a duplex. Okay. The house I was living in was perfectly split in two, right? To make 2 unlivable houses. Okay? So I wasn't staying there for long, but it was just 2 completely unlivable houses, right? And I had a neighbor that lived next to me where I moved in, and once again, this older lady, so sweet as could be, knocks on my door, and it's like, hey, I saw that you just moved in. She had baked something, old school, like out of the movies. She had baked something. She was like, I made you a little something, some muffins. I know moving is hard. I know sometimes you don't have anything to eat right after you move. So this is for you, right? And I was like, oh, I didn't even know what to do. I was like, oh, thank you. Thank you so much. And she was like, yeah, I like to help people get their bearings. And just so you know, I just want to be the one to tell you so you don't have to find out on your own. There's a crackhead in the wall. And when you get that type of warning, it does make you look at the muffins twice. One has nothing to do with the other. But I was still like, oh. And she was like, yeah, we thought it was a bird for a long time. And then he started talking. And so if you hear anything in the middle of the night, just pound on the wall a couple times and he'll stop. I was like, okay. All right. Okay. And I closed the door and I sat in silence for the rest of the night, waiting to hear a noise that would never come. It wasn't until like months later I heard some scratching in the wall, and I was like, how does somebody just live with it? And so I knocked on her door, and she came to the door. She was like, you hear him too. And I was like, look, I know you lived here longer than me, but in case it is a bird, maybe we should call animal control. Just throwing it out there, right? And she's like, you can do what you want. I called animal control, and then they could hear the scratching too. And then they went ahead and went on the roof, and they said that they found a slight hole in the roof, and turns out it was a bird. It had been a bird the entire time, and I'm pretty sure it was a bird when she heard it, but maybe she just had the TV on. Maybe she was like, he's talking. Animal control leaves with the bird. I go over, I tell her it was a bird, animal control called the bird, and she was like, thank you so much. Seriously, thank you so much. That has been happening for like 8 months, off and on, and I was positive it was a crackhead. And I guess that's what a good neighbor does. I guess a good neighbor lets you know nobody's in your wall. Because I think fundamentally the toughest thing people are facing right now is like a true way forward where they can trust other people to help them and take care of them. And I can't tell you to just blindly put your faith in people that you don't know, even if they live next to you. But what I can tell you is that most people return energy. Most people give like for like. So if there's a community that you want around you, all you have to do is be its founder. If you are the one knocking on your neighbor's door, letting them know you're here, if they need anything, they'll probably do the same for you. And it's so simple to build community. It's so much more likely that you're gonna build community than you're gonna become a billionaire. Do you know what I mean? Like, both things are incredibly hard to do. They take a lot of hard work and everything, and one of them means everyone will hate you. Because when you're broke as well, the thing that happens, I think, the most often is that we have a real misunderstanding of each other. Rich people, the rich people that I've met in my life, no rich person I know feels rich. They feel comfortable. Now, they'll do whatever it takes to maintain their level of comfort, but they don't feel rich. They're like, no, I'm just comfortable. I'm just chilling. And you show them how much they make, and they're like, yeah, I got to maintain, I got kids, And then you show them how much the rest of the world makes, and they're like, ooh. Okay, maybe we don't tell anybody how much I make. And the same thing, when you're broke, there's a genuine misunderstanding around the decisions that people make when they're poor, around the way that people think, because there's not the possibility of thinking past tomorrow, because you're not even sure you're going to get there. Do you know what I mean? When you really don't have means, when you really don't have money, you come off wild sometimes, because all your requests are strange, because you're just trying to piece things together just so you can make it to the next day. Like a good example is I used to work at a grocery store, and one time in the break room, we're eating our lunch, and this one dude opened his lunch and then just said out loud to everybody, hey, I made a hamburger at home, but oof, does anybody have a top bun? Sir, they're always sold even. How did this happen? We look at money as paper, right? At least when it's in its physical form, it's this paper thing. But it's more than paper. There's fabric weaved into it. There's linen, there's cotton. It works the same way that society works. There's fabric that weaves all of us together. And there are people who have not been able to participate in the opportunities of making money or making their well-being out of these chances in the market the way that other people have. And so when you tell them that a recession is coming, they're like, oh, a what? Okay. I was already broke. Do you know what I mean? What is a recession to somebody who was on the street the whole time? I guess the best example I can give is one time I was at a party with my friends, and I fell in the pool. And falling in the pool at a party is one of the more embarrassing things you can do when it's not a pool party. If you fall in the pool at a party where people are just sort of standing around the pool and talking, you might as well have fallen off the roof. But I fell into the pool at the party, which is not just embarrassing, it's not just annoying, because now all my clothes are wet and everything. It's terrifying because I can't swim. You know what I mean? I'm not a swimmer in the way that I would like to be, and the way that I would like to be is to be able to survive. And so when it comes to swimming, I'm not only not a fan, I'm not efficient. And so I get in the water, and when you don't swim, and I don't just mean can't swim, I'm saying when you don't swim, like for fun or anything, being surrounded by water out of nowhere is very concerning. I didn't realize I had stepped into the pool until I was in the pool. So now what I feel like has happened is that I turned around and water surrounded me. And so I start doing what I think swimming is innately. I start fighting the water, right? I'm punching and I'm kicking and I'm like, get off me, water, but I'm in the water. But I'm like, get back, I don't want you over here. And that's not how water works. And so I'm sifting through the water, and it's almost like swimming, except I'm staying in place underneath it. So that is drowning. That's what drowning is. When you're swimming perfectly, but you're not going up above and you can't get your head up, you're not actually swimming, you're drowning, and it's also exhausting. You're fighting and you're punching, you're kicking, and you're moving, and you're doing a pretty good job of drowning. If you could get your head above water, this would be swimming. And if you could get your chest up, if you could do that butterfly thing, now you're a swimmer. But I am over here, no more water. Get out of my face, right? So then it takes someone pulling me out of the water for me not to actually drown. And Not right after, not soon enough after, but pretty soon after we leave the party. And not as soon as you would like if you almost drowned. You know what I mean? Like that's, and it's tough too, because like the dude saved you as your ride. So now he's doing you two favors, you know? So then, you know, man saves me, and my buddy pulls me out of the water, and now, you know, we stay an extra 20 minutes because now he's got his MAC points for saving a life in front of everybody. You know what I mean? That's what most embarrassing. The only thing more embarrassing than like showing a whole party full of people you can't swim is to be sitting there wet while the person that saved you tries to mac on somebody. Just like, yeah, you know, I do what I can. I do what I try to help out the people, you know, and doing my best. And it's like, also, my man didn't. Look, I'm not necessarily trying to give notes on being saved, but like, my man did jump in the pool and grab me and lift me up and swim me to the shore of the edge of the pool, right? This man just stuck his arm in and kept clawing at me until he got the back of my shirt. That's barely saving. Like, when I tell you that I'm over here, stop it, water, no, I don't want any more. And then he is over here, bow, bow. And he missed like 8 times. So he was punching me in the head while trying to save my life. And he finally hooks his hand behind my collar and pulls me up the way that a cat sort of lifts its kitten in its mouth. You know what I mean? Just sloppy. And then I'm also still fighting. I don't know what's pulling me up, so I don't know if that's more drowning. I don't know what the effects of drowning feel like. So now I'm not necessarily fighting his hand, but I am still fighting the water. And so if you were on the other side of the pool, it does look like I was drowning. He reached in, dunked me one more time just to be safe, and then pulled me up. Because I don't know that he's trying to help me. But when he finally pulls me up and I'm over here coughing up the water and everything, this man helps me get up out of the pool and then immediately sees the eyes on him and everything, sees the opportunity, and he's like, oh, yeah, you know. I do what I can. Also, I know he saved my life and everything, but also the fact that he didn't need to roll his sleeves up like that. Like that was even more just worth like, oh yeah, you know, I tried. Now you sitting here wet, just like, can you wrap it up, get the number or don't? And so then me, him, and some other friends head to his car once he's ready to leave, and his car won't start. Waited for nothing. Now, luckily, we were staying at his house, and luckily he did live close enough to the party that we could walk. It was like maybe, I don't know, like a mile and some change. It wasn't crazy. And so we start walking. As we start walking, it starts drizzling. And then it's drizzling a little bit more, drizzling a little bit harder, and then it really starts raining. And when it starts raining, all my friends did a different thing when it was raining. Like, I had one friend that did the turtle. Just walking and just trying to... And I get it, because he has some deep collarbones. He would have had 2 lakes on either side of his neck if he had just let the water hit. That would have been 2 puddles he had to carry. So I understand him trying to... And then I had another friend who was over here doing this, which genuinely pissed me off. That's one of the craziest things I've seen. You have 2 hands, one hand covering some of your head, but not even efficiently. Where's the distance management here? You'd be better putting the hand on your head. And I had another friend who just decided to lean forward, because I guess he just doesn't want a wet front. He's just cool with it all hitting the back. And as it's raining and raining, my friend was over here doing this, turns to me, because I'm just walking. I'm not doing any of this. I'm just walking normal. And they're like, oh, John, you must not mind the rain. And I was like, I almost drowned 20 minutes ago. And that's what it's like when you're broke. You're almost drowning all the time. So when people try to scare you with talks of a recession, you're like, why would I? What? You're doing this. I'm already wet. And the way to ensure that you're going to be okay, the way to ensure that your family is going to be okay, is by creating chains, by linking up together with other people, with other families. Because the way forward, your future, I guarantee you, it's not in the market. There's a belief that, like, if I can just get enough ahead, maybe I'll pull some other people with me. And that sort of thinking is the reason that we as the people can be taken advantage of so easily when it comes to money. It's like, I can get you a little bit ahead. Oh, I'd like to be a little bit ahead, right? But the way forward, your future, I promise you it's in your neighbor. I promise you, there's no one that's going to take care of you like the people that are actually next to you. And it's kind of daunting to me. It does freak me out a little bit that there are so many people, every election, every year, no matter who's president, that expect the person in office to make them rich. Don't you know this is America? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's just not how it works. It's not how it's ever worked. You may like the person in office, you may not, but I guarantee you they're not gonna make you rich. That's not how anything works. And don't get me wrong, I've had dreams before. I had a hard time getting to know people, and I had a hard time communicating with people. I'm an only child, and my mom wanted me to have friends so I wouldn't be crazy. And so, as a single parent with one kid, my mom, the only thing she knew how to do was go ahead and take me over to her other single parents' friends' houses where they had one kid, and she was like, maybe y'all will just play and not be crazy together. And sure enough, there was a time in my life where my parents got back together, and so we were a 2-income household, so I started to get the good toys, right? The real good toys. I'm talking WCW, NWO, wrestling toys, Sting, Goldberg, Kevin Nash. And sure enough, you know, I remember I got those toys. Those are some of my favorite toys in the world because I didn't know ankles had come out yet. I would hold up my Kevin Nash and I'd be like, bow, 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 bow. Look what he does. Bow, 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 bow. He had knees, he had ankles, he could do this. That's crazy. I was used to this only. Maybe if you were getting fancy, some of this, but I wasn't used to this. This thing right here, this is crazy. Real shoulder movement? My mind was blown. I was like, look at what this thing can do. Bow, 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 right? And so then my mom took me over to her friend's house, and her friend had a kid, and you know, I went ahead and brought over 2 of my toys. I brought my Kevin Nash and I brought my Sting because I'm trying to make a good impression. And so we're talking, they're talking, and finally we go to his room to play, and my mom leaves to go run some errands or something. And I quickly realized after my mom left that he was crazy. He was genuinely crazy because all of his toys, every single one of his toys, didn't have a face. None of his toys had faces. I don't know if he was chewing them or if he was burning them, but they were gone. And so he looked at my Sting toy and he was like, oh, we have the same one. And I was like, I don't see how that's possible. I don't see how that's possible. And then sure enough, this kid pulls out his Sting toy, and I know we have the same toy because the Sting had the jacket. The jacket you could put on, you could take off and everything. And so we're playing, and I'm trying to be a collaborative new friend, right? I'm like, what do you want to do? You want to do Legos? You want to do like wrestlers, whatever? And then we decide Legos. So I was like, do you want to build a castle? You want to build a wall? What do you want to do? So we decide to build a castle, right? And then this kid, we're halfway through the castle, maybe 100 pieces to go. And this kid grabs the castle, lifts it up, throws it against the wall. It explodes into like 190,000 pieces. And I'm like, what did you do that for? And he goes, don't talk to me. And I was like, oh man, yeah, chill, Satan, chill, okay? Back up, devil, okay? Because I had been prepared in case the situation happened, because I knew I wasn't a crazy only child, but I knew there were other crazy only children out there. So I already had my thing on me, right? I had that lance in my back pocket. I was like, don't you come near me. I will cut you open. This thing is 6 weeks old.